Loneliness and isolation is a stark reality for many older people. Is it a frightening or a compromising thought? Good evening, Mr. President and fellow Toastmasters and friends. I would like to share with you two cases of one negative and one positive of how to be lonely, or how to, what attitude to take when you're lonely and feeling or live alone. And two cases of that. And three, my third point will be three researches that I've done to back this topic. Let's begin with number one case. Mr. Smith. He's an 80-year-old man who lives by himself, and he gets support visitors, workers every day, and when they come to his place, he complains bitterly about feeling lonely and isolated. Mr. Smith's family live at some distance away from him, and they repeatedly have asked him to come and live with them, but he's insisting that he wants to be independent. Mr. Smith melancholic way shows not only the way he dresses, but the way his lost walk and talks. With lack of exercise, because he hasn't been out of his flat for about 3 months, and with winter coming on, he's bound to be housebound. I believe there is help at hand for Mr. Smith, but he does not want to compromise. My second case is Mrs. Paul. She's an 80-year-old woman living on her own. She got trapped in her home and felt more and more anxious and lonely. But then she decided to call Age Concern. After an advisor and Age Concern heard about her problems, she encouraged her to apply for an allowance credit, which is visits from a carer, and Mrs. Paul accepted, and she got it. So now Mrs. Paul gets a carer coming to see her every week. Secondly, the advisor put her in touch with a home DIY handyman on the Age Concern, who came and fitted some grab rails in her bathroom. So now Mrs. Paul is happy and comfortable to take a shower. She's not afraid anymore that she's going to sleep, whatever. And the third help that Age Concern gave Mrs. Paul was to apply for a tax credit. Tax credit is a government subsidized door-to-door help for people with impaired mobility. So, consequently, Mrs. Paul now attends a daily center once a week, and she not only meets people to talk about her loneliness and her problems, but she's using her past skills as a painter, and she's taking them on board. Happily, Mrs. Paul found herself being lonely, alone, and isolated, but she asked for help, and she got it. Three of my researches was the first one, Dr. McCulloch. He's a chief executive of a health foundation, and he said, while loneliness is an emotion that everybody feels, chronic loneliness can lead to health problems. Consequently, if you feel lonely or isolated, we should not feel ashamed to talk to other people and ask for help. Second research was Healthy Aged survey says that 1 million pensioners are very lonely in United Kingdom, and 500,000 are only leave their homes once a week. And in addition to that, 300,000 people are housebound. This would be Mr. Smith's case. So, in conclusion, Oh no, sorry. And my third one is a positive attitude towards being alone. And it was a book written by Virginia Ironside. She's a journalist from 3 newspapers in England, in which she states, her book is called Virginia Monologues, and she recalls, if there is nobody who can make you feel happy, you'll have to do it yourself. In conclusion, is loneliness and isolation a stark reality? Is there a compromise or a refusal for a happy ending? I leave you these thoughts. People do not grow old by living merely few years. People grow old when they lose their ideals. Years wrinkle the face, but to lose enthusiasm wrinkles the soul. Good evening, my friends.